Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? I am doing fine. Hope everybody's well. Little interesting topics that I try to introduce some new topics. And we will see. All right. So we're going to talk about betting and gambling and why. I know I've done other shows on it, but just a refresher. What's going on in the war in Ukraine and Russia, and why is there a war in Ukraine and Russia? We'll talk about football. We don't have baseball till tomorrow, so we will pick that up tomorrow. And that's about it. So first, let's look at gold, and let's talk about comex. Gold's at 33.37. What's going on here? Why is it dropping at 2 o'clock in the morning and at 8 o'clock in the morning and goes down at about 9:30, and then why does it go up at 9:30? What is all this funniness? And here's silver 38.03, and the funny part about silver, the chart didn't change. It's the same chart. What the hell is going on? And this is the whole problem, right? Is all the corruption. So what you have is basically the mafia running the banks. They've created banks. They run them. They cheat. They steal. They made off. 2008, which isn't a crisis. People got loans for houses they shouldn't have got. They had no credit or no job. They got it, and then it all blew up because they couldn't afford it. Because the logic of Wall Street, well, who doesn't pay their mortgage, so they're very safe. Then it becomes into a risk and no risk. There's no risk on a mortgage. Everybody's going to pay their house because what happened? The variable changed. You went to a new system based on Clinton that said now anybody can get it. It doesn't matter their credit score if they're working. If they want a house, you got to sell them a house. And if you don't, we're gonna slap your hand to the banks. So the banks did loans. They said, okay, even though these are risky. Now, the problem was the fact they were risky, how the Jeremy Irons and the Attack on Wall Street guys and the Big Short guys don't understand they're risky is what blows your mind. That shows you how stupid these people are that you're trusting, right? How did Jeremy Irons now know that there was extreme risk? Because they're giving credit to people with mortgages that have no credit, or they're giving loans to people with no credit. So that's what gets you is, I knew that was happening. I remember reading that. I got my master's in 95, and I remember reading it in 1997. They're adjusting the mortgage. And I said, well, that's going to be terrible. So I never got into a real estate. I thought about it. And then once this happens, I said, that's ridiculous. Because you would get like 8% on your money, 9%, like a tack on Wall Street guy would do. And I said, oh, well, that's better than the 3% that the bank gives out. So that's really the whole problem with all these Ponzi schemes, is that the bank doesn't give out a fair return on investment. So if you put 100 grand in the bank, you should be getting 10, 15%. All they got to do is print the money, but they don't. And so the question is why aren't they? So the banks are really the bad guys here. And the banks run the government. Remember that. Don't ever forget that. The banks give the money to the politicians and get the votes they want. That's why Jamie Dimon never goes to jail for price fixing gold and silver, as I showed you. How could both charts be the same? Gold, well, we can kind of converge on this. How can gold be 33.42, go down to 33.10, and go back up to 33.37? How can this happen? Right? How can silver do the same thing? Basically, go down. And all this spam. How does it go down, to 37.30, and now it's back to 38.04? How can it go down like that? Well, that's manipulation. Those are options. Those are taking advantage of the situation where they're shorting. When it goes up, they short it down, and when it goes down, they push it up. And that's what's happening. But why is this allowed? This is illegal. This is not free market. We're in America. Everything's free market here. All of a sudden, this isn't free market. I mean, that's ridiculous. So that's the big problem. Again, it's all corrupt. I was watching a video yesterday. I'll see if I can find it. And they were saying how corrupt the government is. And I agree. I said that a long time ago. It's just, they're all greedy and they're all doing what's best for them. Nobody's doing what's best for us. But you're the ones making the laws, right? Why is there a war in the Ukraine? Ukraine can't afford to fight. They have no money. They have no weapons, and yet they're fighting the Russians. Of all people, the Russians. What's really behind that? So we'll talk about that. But so understand the housing crisis was caused by the government, by Clinton, allowing the banks, forcing the banks. They had to. If anybody wanted a house, they had to loan it. They had to give them money for it, even if they couldn't pay it back. And the ARMs, the adjustable rate mortgages, were like 2%. So it made the mortgages fine until the ARMs went up. And when the ARMs started going, it's a what do you call it? Like an introductory offer. Okay, your $200,000 house will start you at 2%. But we know that's not going to be true. That's just the teaser rate. Then it's going to go to 3 or 4, and then it's going to go to 5 or 6. So in a few years, it'll be 6%. And on a couple 100,000, that's a lot, especially if you can't afford it. So it goes into my Titanic. We hit the iceberg. Guess what? The water's coming in. Guess what? We're going to sink. Guess what? We need to get to the lifeboat. So how does all the bankers, the Jeremy Irons, the Attack on Wall Street guys, the Big Short guys, how do they all miss this? Clearly, that was the iceberg, was allowing people who couldn't afford mortgages to get a mortgage. Well, mortgages are the safest thing. You watch The Big Short. Mortgages are the safest investment. Who doesn't pay their mortgage? It's been the safest in the U.S., history of the U.S., but the variable changed. This is the key concept you must understand, is things aren't the same. So you're comparing X, but now you're at Y. You're comparing Washington before Daniels, and now there's Daniels. You have Tom Brady on New England. Now he goes to Tampa. You don't have Tampa. So you've got to, it's a trigger. You've changed the law about loaning money to people who want to buy a house, who've been rejected because they can't afford it. They have bad credit and they probably don't have a job or they don't make enough. And you're giving them that. So that's really the problem of that. It's really you got to identify that. So once that change happened, once the variable change, and you got to be open to it, and you got to. There's always an action and a reaction, right? You're always getting a reaction to it, which is if A happens, B happens. If Washington drafts Penix and he's good, look what happens. If the Bears draft Caleb and he sucks, and you can tell by his play in college if he's going to be good or suck, right? That's what you use, is how he does in college. That's how I grade the quarterbacks, right? So when I pick on a Jalen Hurts or I pick on Tagovailoa, it's because I watched them play in college and they weren't very good. Tag was in a system thing. That's why I don't like the Alabama Ohio State quarterbacks. They run in a system that is not run in the NFL, playing against mediocre defenses. But then every time you'd get Alabama against Georgia, a pro defense, they wouldn't show up. Or you had Trevor Lawrence play against the Ohio State defense, they wouldn't show up. So against the easy teams, the ACC, North Carolinas and Pitts, they look good. But then when they got in against Georgia, they got in against Ohio State, they get in against Alabama, they don't show up. That's the key. That's how they're going to do. We figured out Caleb because against Notre Dame with a pretty NFL defense, he didn't show up. 4 or 5 picks, didn't do anything. So that's what you look at. And so you look at everything, but then you've got to be alert to look at when the variables change. In finance, the variable changed with the housing market. Anybody could get a loan. Well, okay, that changes the whole history. Well, nobody defaults on their mortgage. Well, they will now because you're giving mortgages to people that shouldn't get it. So you've got to be smart enough to carry that through. And apparently I'm a lot smarter than I think. And a lot of these people are a lot dumber than they appear to be. We look at BRICS. BRICS has changed the comex and the gold. You got gold at 3,400. Why is that? Because BRICS came in and is tired of the U.S. bullying everybody. And you're talking with Russia and China. And so they sit there and they're getting sanctioned and they're getting tariffed. And they go, screw you, we'll do our own. We'll do our gold-backed currency, which allows, with the gold-backed currency, they don't need the dollar, which then all the demand for gold, because of BRICS, pushes the gold price up. So don't be surprised when it's not 1,700 anymore. But we saw this years ago. We saw this happening, and we started buying gold at 1,700, 1,800. My buddy in Vegas, I talked to him the other day. I said, what was your price? He says 2,000. And I go, well, it's at 3,400 now. You're making 70%. Do that in the stock market without risk. And that's what you're looking at is because something changed, what is the reaction to it? That's the key to life. It's the key to class. You're dating a girl. I'm going through this with Daria now, where I talk to her pretty much every day, and then all of a sudden I don't hear from her for a week. Okay, the variable changed. What happened? Are you just busy? Are you with another guy? Are you unable to communicate? Now, her story is Because of the war, the Russian have cut the internet on mobile phones sometimes. So I assume that's why she's not contacting me. I'm not worried about her with another guy. Um, I'm helping her out. I love you, so I don't think I wouldn't get contact, right? If you don't, I find with girls, if they don't like you and they don't want to talk to you, they just don't talk to you. They don't say I love you and then don't want to talk to you. They just, don't talk to you. So that's where I'm at. I'm assuming and she's told me the internet is being blocked. Not all the time, though, but I'm assuming with the way the war is going, maybe they're blocking it more now. Although she did give me my daughter's, she's feeling better. She's coming home from the hospital. She gave me that on Monday, but now here we are on Thursday, and I'm, well, how is she? How is your daughter doing? But I noticed the variables changed. Wait a minute, where's the kind? I just sent her my picture, and she's online, but she didn't respond. I'm assuming because she can't. And I don't know what online means on WhatsApp because I'll be looking at gold. And Jenna used to say, I see you online. And I said, I'm just checking the gold price. I'm not on WhatsApp. I am on the internet, but I'm not on WhatsApp. So we will see. And that's the point, right? So you're always checking variables. You're always, if everything stays the same, but it really does, things change. And when things change, you have to understand that. So the BRICS has changed gold, and now Basel III has changed gold, where they got us deliver the options. So all this is options. What I'm showing you here, this is all options. Like, how does the price go up and down? Well, they're doing options, like I showed you in Eddie Murphy. So this went down to $37.98. Why? They're doing an option. It's 12 o'clock. So we see, look what happened. It went down just before 10, and then, of course, it goes up. What is that? This is where they're fixing it. This is where they're lowering it to 33.10, so the U.S. can buy options at 32.310, and then they go up to 33.36, and I assume they make money. I know on an option you can either buy it or sell it, like we showed you on Trading Places. Eddie Murphy sold it at 142 and bought it back at 42. So you got to sell and buy. It's like a stock, right? I can buy the stock, but I don't make money till I sell the stock. And to go into that stupid, what's that movie? The Wolf of Wall Street. Probably the stupidest movie I've ever watched. The quote in the movie, they're having lunch. Leonardo DiCaprio and the guy I hate, the guy from the gambling, I'm a football handicapper movie, McConaughey or something. And they're saying is the key is to not let the people sell. So the people buys Coca-Cola and it goes from 50 to 100, and they want to cash in, and it's like, no, I have another stock for you. And you never let them cash in. This is their mentality on the stockbroker side, on the Wall Street side. We want your money in play. So you are making money paperly, but you never cash in. And therefore we'll tell, okay, Coke made money, now let's put you into Disney. And then we'll put you into Microsoft, and we'll never let you sell and take your money. We'll always keep your money and make commission on it, because that's all they care about, is making commission on you. They don't care about you. This is the point you must understand. None of these financial analysts or financial planners or stockbrokers care about you. They want their commission. That's why they don't put you in gold. And you have to be smart enough on your own, or listening to somebody like me, who's an economist, I don't have any skin in the game. I am not getting commission on you. I'm not charging you a penny. All I want you to do is buy gold because of the dollar being printed to death, and it's your only option. So now you understand why. Now you can ask your stockbroker, financial planner. He's going to put you in stocks because he gets commission on it. But I have no skin in the game, so I'm going to tell you what's best for you. They're not. So again, you have to understand that. And what variable changed? BRICS and now Basel III, and that's where the gold. That's you see silver is getting close to, it's at 38, getting close to 40, and gold is 33.40, sitting there, up 10, down 10 for a couple of weeks now. And again, the bullion banks, the JP Morgans, the Citi, the Wells Fargo, I think, USBS, the Hong Kong Bank, HSBC, they're the bullion dealers. So they are making money on these options for themselves. They obviously don't give it back to the customers because you're getting 2-3% instead of the 10-15% they're making on them. I don't know exactly what they make on them, and I don't know how long these last. I know options can go a week, or they can go a month, or maybe they can go a year. I don't know. There's a lot of options that have been sold that haven't been bought because they're going to lose their ass. And that's one of the reasons they're keeping the silver price down, because they need to sell it at 25, but it's at 38 now. So they're going to lose. If they sold it at 25, they want to buy it at 20. But that's never going to happen. So they what are they going to do? Buy it at 38? Well, it might be better to buy it at 38 instead of 50. But they have to do the other side of the transaction. They have to buy it eventually. And right now they have sold it. So they're losing a ton of money. And that's why I warn you not to put your money in the bank, and put your gold in the bank in a safety deposit box. Yes, you think it's safe. Nobody's going to get it. However, the bank's going to screw you, because these banks are going to lose a ton, because they have all these options that they're shorting and that they need to buy. They can't just short them without the buy part of it. So they need to buy them, but they won't buy them because gold and silver are too high. But they're going to, as soon as it starts jumping because of the demand for gold and silver, because of the new thing of BRICS and the new thing of Basel III, the variables change. The ice has hit the ship. They're going to go through the roof. And because of that, they're going to go broke. So Citibank's going to go out. So if you have something at Citibank or Goldman Sachs, you better get it the hell out. So we're understanding the new variables. So you can't ignore stuff, and you have to read, or at least that's why I go on YouTube a lot. And that's why I watch a Mark McGuire or an Egon. Egon I got pretty well. I mean, he's buy gold because the dollar's worthless. Well, we got that. I've already explained that. I'm happy to explain it again. You can't keep printing dollars. It loses value. So if something new like BRICS comes in, be coherent. Oh, they're all buying a gold for the gold-backed currency. Well, they're not just saying that. It's true. Even if it isn't true, the demand for gold's going up. So that variable. Then we have this inflation variable, which nobody understands either. Oh, it's prices going up. No, inflation's caused by printing too much money. It takes the value of the money away because there's too much. Sort of like if you have, let's say you're having steak for dinner. All right, one steak, good value. What if there's 3 steaks? Is the third steak going to be as good as the first steak, or are you going to be sick of steak by the third steak? So you're sitting there, you eat 1, you eat 2, you're trying to eat 3. It diminishes. The taste for the second and third steak go down because you've had a steak. 1 steak's good. 2, 3, you'll never eat. Well, that's the dollar, right? You printed so many dollars between the petrodollar and the FX You've printed all these dollars, but now they're coming back because of BRICS. BRICS is saying we're not using the dollar. And China and Brazil are trading amongst each other without taking dollars. And they're telling the US to fuck off. Russia's doing it with Iran. They're both doing it with Saudi Arabia and India. They're not using the dollar to trade amongst each other. And now you got Cuba and you got Vietnam and Korea and all these other countries joining the party. And nobody wants to use the US dollar. It's a scam. It's set up so you have to buy at a probably at a what do you call it? Not a discount, but the other way. So you've got to pay $1.10 for the dollar. So it costs you more yuan or more yen or more British pounds to buy other currencies because you have to buy the dollar, use the dollar to buy the other currency. Who came up with that? You've got to be kidding me. And that's what pisses everybody off. And that's why BRICS is created because they don't want to be on there. They don't want to be sanctioned. They don't want to be tariffed. And so if you don't use dollars, you can't tariff me. You can only tariff me if I buy in dollars. You can only sanction me if I use dollars. So Russia and the gang of merry men go and say, screw you. They're all trading amongst each other. Plus, because you printed the US dollar, nobody wants it. It's worthless. They say, okay, so an Egon is, you know what, this has lost, these both have lost 99% of their value. I'm going to say this has lost 100%. I'm going to say maybe this is 99%. They're worthless. So when they say, well, we can keep printing, you can, but the problem is the value of the dollars there is no value in the dollar because you've printed too many of them, right? You keep printing, you kill the value, and then you kill demand. When there's no demand, it's worthless. As I show you in my Canadian club, I can sell this for $100 if there's a buyer. If there's no buyer, I can't sell it because nobody will want it, right? If nobody wants it, it's worth zero, even though it's probably worth $100 only if there's a buyer. And so you got to understand that about your house, your car, your baseball cards, your Rolex. What you think has a value only has a value if there's a buyer. You can see it in the housing market now. I got a $500,000 house. I'm sitting pretty. It's worth $500,000, but nobody can afford it because interest rates are now 8% or 10%. That's assuming you have decent credit. So let's say it's 10% to get a mortgage on a $500,000 house. It's going to cost you $4,000 a month for the house. Who can afford that? So you're running into, is my house really worth $500,000? And that's where they talk deflation, which they're using the term incorrectly. Basically, it's prices coming down. So your $500,000 house is not really worth $500,000 because people can't afford it and aren't buying it. It's only worth $500,000 if there's a buyer. So when Luke wants to buy a house, I tell him to wait because there's no buyers. The prices will come down and then you can buy it, or just wait for the gold to go up and the price to go down and buy it with gold. And then you won't have a mortgage. You'll just give them 2-3 ounces of gold for the house and you'll be all set. In Nazi Germany, well, in 1923 in Germany, the houses were like, you'd get like $100,000 house in 1920 is like $1 million house. And when it collapsed, you house for $100 and you'd use 5 ounces of gold at $20 an ounce to buy the house. There was no mortgage and it was only worth $100, even though it was $100,000. If you don't have buyers, it's not really worth it. So what you thought was a $100,000 house was really a $100 house. You must have buyers. So that's why sometimes, like with my baseball cards, yeah, maybe I should sell it now when I have buyers versus later. But I don't mind because I'll get gold for it and I'll be fine with that. So that's really what you're looking at is, do I have a buyer for what I'm selling? That's what gives it value, right? And so that's what you do. Now, to jump to football, how to bet is the value. What's the value on Detroit playing Green Bay in the first game? What's the value on it? Green Bay is 1.5. You got a lot of risk. You have variables that have changed. You've lost the center on Detroit, all pro. You've lost the offensive and defensive coordinators. The defensive coordinator wasn't good. The offensive coordinator was, but we don't know how good he was because he had a stacked deck. He had a good offensive line. He had an average quarterback, good receivers, and good running backs. So he could basically run it down your throat and then play action pass because that's what golf does. And so the value of the offense was very high. The value of the defense sucked, partly because of the injuries and partly because it just sucked. So the value of the Lions are they score a lot, but they can't defend too much. And then the variable of Hutchinson, the all-pro defensive end. Where's he? Is he going to play? Well, he broke his leg in 2 places in October. Probably not right away. I'd be shocked if he played in September because of Cam Rising hurting his knee in the Rose Bowl, couldn't play at all that year. So we're not really sure. But we are sure of you got new coordinators. You got the center gone. Can you easily replace an all-pro center? Probably not. The left tackle's a year older. He was hurt last year a lot, right? And your defense. So what do we have with Green Bay? Well, we know they're a good offensive team because they have a good offensive coach, not the coordinator, but the coach is kind of the coordinator. Their defense a little weak. So the value of the game is based probably they'll score a lot of points because Detroit can score and Green Bay can score. And Detroit's defense isn't going to be as good with the new coordinator, at least not week 1. Now, they don't play in the exhibition season, doesn't help. So you're looking for the value of the game. You're looking for the value of Kansas City, San Diego, Philadelphia, and the Giants. Go up and down the list. Washington against whoever they play. Who's Washington play? Washington, they got the Giants. Philly plays Dallas, Cincinnati, Cleveland. So you're looking for the value. And that's what I do better than anybody is I find the value in the game. I try to predict the score, which I do very well. I don't hit it exactly, but I get close. And points. So I'm pretty good if it's an over or under. I'm looking at the defense. So I'm looking at these different variables to try to come up with what is the good value in the game. That's the secret to it. As I do in blackjack, I use streaks to maximize my winnings, as in craps, as in baccarat, as in poker. I'm trying to value my hand against the other people's hand, and I do it based on betting. Well, he's not betting. I'll make a bet. He calls. He doesn't raise me. I check. He's checking. Okay, probably doesn't have a good hand. And you kind of do it like that. And so everything you're doing is trying to get the value of things. What's it worth? What's the house worth? What's the gold worth? Why are they doing options? So you realize if we take gold, the variables aren't correct. The value is not correct because they're doing paper. They're not doing physical. They're shorting it. They're selling it. But why? There's huge demand for it. It makes no sense. So if you can find the value of gold, which to me is 10 times higher than it is, then you run out and buy it. Why is the value? How do you get value? Well, you get it on supply and demand. It's very limited, and all the BRICS countries are buying it, and more countries are joining BRICS, are buying it. As the dollar goes out, and the yen goes out, and the British pound goes out, and the euro goes out, all these people are going to need gold and silver because there's nothing else of value to buy. Yeah, you can buy, like I said, Picassos and You can buy Rolex and Mantle cards. Those are your options, but that's it. You certainly don't want to be in the stock market because it's priced in dollars and it's going out. So I know I'm jumping, but it's whatever kind of hits me at the time. It's all playing into the role of value. And that's the whole point of it. So you're trying to take your money and make money, but you've got to understand the variables change and what's happening. So in sports or in gambling, give me the value. And the value at the casinos are going down because I heard from my friend now, if you get blackjack, it's like even money. Once in a while, it's 6-5. It should be 7-6. That's where I grew up. It was 7-6. You're getting true odds at craps. You get 2-1 on 10, 2-1 on 4. I doubt you're getting 2-1. So the value is going down because they're cheating you. They're making your odds worse, but most people don't understand that. Baccarat, I don't know. I'm sure they're fucking everybody on the odds at the casinos. So poker, okay, we're pretty good because there's no odds. I'm playing you. I'm playing these 5-6 people, and that's where I'm at. So I'm playing, and I have a pretty good value, and my odds aren't getting hurt. That's why I play poker. Plus, I'm playing other people. I'm not playing the casino because the casino cheats and they give you bad odds. So that's what you're doing. So you hunt around, and it comes to me that the best value is gold and silver because they're shorting it. They're using paper to price it. So they're diluting, but it's with paper. It's not physical. Nobody's selling gold. All the BRICS countries, I'm sure everybody in the US, nobody's selling the gold. You might sell an ounce because you want to go on a vacation or you have a bill to pay or something happens. You want to buy a car or something. So you sell an ounce or two, but not enough to move the market. And so the best value is that the physical price of gold and silver is 10 times higher than this 38 and 300 and 33.50 and 38 for silver. The price is at least 10. Silver is probably 20 times. Silver is probably 1,000 an ounce. But every time they do the paper and they short it and the price goes down, as I showed you. So example, what the hell happened here at what is about 8:30? What the hell happened there? Why did it go down? Well, if it was logical, it would be because of selling. Selling would drop, buying would go up. But that's not what's happening. It's all derivatives. So we know that's phony. We know the variable change where BRICS is now buying. So the demand's there to buy it. Nobody's selling. Why is the price dropping? It's phony. It's fixed. It's JP Morgan selling it because I guess they make a little bit of money on the options. But now with Basel III, they have to deliver if the buyer of the option says, I want delivery of it. And these are central banks, China, probably Russia. They want delivery of it. They're trying to buy the gold. They're trying to empty comex. And when comex runs out of gold, the Ponzi scheme's over. This is a Ponzi scheme in gold and silver, but it's breaking. And so when that happens, then they got to deliver. They don't have it. The price will go up. So that's why the value of gold and silver, if we just take gold at 33.40, we know it's probably worth 20,000, 25,000. Because you wouldn't, if you just own the physical, why would it go down? It would always go up because right now there's no selling at all. China's not selling 10,000 pounds or 10,000 tons. They're buying, as is Russia, as is China, as is India, as is Saudi, as is Brazil, as is all the BRICS countries are all buying gold. Because the trade is going to be in gold, because that's the only thing people can trust, because nobody's going to trust Russia or China, but they will trust gold. So I have gold, I'm going to trade you for tomatoes, and I'm going to pay you with this gold-backed currency. and then they're nobody's worried about it because it can't be fucked. So that's what you have is you really have a very undervalued option here. You have a very undervalued gold and silver, physical, not paper. You don't want to buy ETFs. You must buy paper. You really don't want to buy stocks, even though they might go up. They're still in dollars, so it's like holding Amazon. It goes up, but it's still in dollars. It's really not worth anything. So that's where you're at with it. You've got to. So you're looking for the best value, right? And that's why, is this good value? No. And is this good value? No, because these aren't backed by anything and they get printing and printed and printed. So if anybody tells you that the euro will be the reserve currency, when you get done laughing at them, just that's all you can do. I don't know the big deal of the reserve currency. There really is no big deal of it. Everybody's independent. As far as trade, I'm trading money for goods, so I don't really see there's no trade imbalance because you're giving them money, and there's as far as these tariffs, all they do is raise the cost for whoever's making it has to add a cost to it. It doesn't mean that the price goes up. It just means the cost went up. Can you raise the price? And that's where I go to steaks. You made it $18 for a pound of New York strips. I'm not going to pay it. So you can raise the price, but can you sell it? Again, is there a buyer for your product? Is there a buyer for my Canadian club? If not, I don't have a value. If you make the steaks $18 a pound, is there a buyer for it? You look at it, you see 18, you walk away. There's no buyer for it. So he has no value in this. The steak's not worth anything at $18. It's worth at about 12 or 13. It has a value. And you'll watch. I keep going in there to see when he puts it on sale because I don't know anybody going to pay $18 for a New York strip. Not that it's not worth it, but you, in your mind, it's not a fair trade. You will trade dollars for the steak, but you're only going to do it if you feel it's a fair trade and you're used to paying $12, $13 for New York strips. When it pushed to 15, 16, you weren't buying it. And at 18, you're not buying it. They did the same thing with the crab legs at this one store. They marked them $50 a pound for crab legs, and I just laughed. And I said, you'll never sell those. Next thing I knew, it was $35, and then it was $25. So that's all of a sudden, the crab legs were $25. And anyway, so that's what you see. With the steaks, the value's too high. It's not a fair trade. It's the market says, I'm not going to pay that much because we're limited in our dollars. So we're not going to do it. So that's what you're looking for in everything. You're looking for that. And if you're a guy, a woman, if you're a girl, a guy, you're looking for value. You're looking for value in betting, sports, poker, casino betting. You're looking for value. Do I want to do a CD or an annuity or a real estate trust? You're always looking for, is it worth what I'm paying? That should be your first thing on anything. And that's why we go to gold and silver. It's worth a lot more than we're paying. And that's why we sing and dance when we leave the store. When we buy 2 ounces of gold, that should be 10,000 an ounce. We're getting it for 3,300, and we do a song and a dance because we know it's worth more. We know it's being held down, but we know it's going to jump. And the key is because of BRICS and now Basel III, the banks that are controlling it, run by the mafia, are controlling the price by doing these options, shorting it, which has like 96% paper. So they're flooding the market with paper gold, but the physical gold does not, you can't do that with. It's very limited. So that's what you have. You have these different things, and what you're doing is looking for value, and really you're looking for what's undervalued. And you see the Montana rookie's 110,000. You go, okay, that's already, it's valuable, but what's the upside? Is it going to go to 200,000? I don't know. Same thing with Bitcoin. Is it undervalued or overvalued at 110,000? We don't even know why it goes up, and we don't think it's real because you can't see it or touch it. Digital can be very scammable, very Ponzi scheme like Madoff. He was sort of digital. You never saw the investment. You took your money and gave it to somebody else. You got somebody else to give money. It's sort of like Social Security. I don't pay for myself. I take it and give it to somebody else. Somebody else is working, and I get my Social Security. It's a Ponzi scheme, right? So that's what Madoff did. So you really never saw the value, and then at the end, so geez, I don't have any more money, so I'm going out of business. Yep, it was a Ponzi. I don't know why he admitted it and why he just didn't close it. All he had to do was just close. I'm closing the fund. The 2008 crash killed me. I lost a lot of money, so I got to close. I don't know why he didn't do that. I don't know why he said, "Oh, I'm that." I was a fraud. So that was really confusing there. But that was the point. By not seeing it and touching Bitcoin, like you can see and touch a casino chip, I know this is real because I can see it and touch it. I don't know if a Bitcoin's real because I can't see it, I can't touch it, and I don't believe it is real. So therefore, what am I dealing with? What if the internet goes down? What if the site goes down? What if all of a sudden they say, you know what, this is see, the problem with it is it's private. So it'll never be money because the government's not going to allow Bitcoin to be money, but you can't take it I can't go to Kroger's with Bitcoin and buy anything. But I guarantee you I will be able to with gold and silver. When the shit hits the fan, they'll be happy to take gold and silver. Well, mostly silver. I go to restaurants, I go to my barbecue place. He will take silver for the dinner. He won't take Bitcoin, but he will take an ounce of silver. It's worth $38 now. So if I got a slab of ribs for 30, I could give him the ounce of silver for the money and he would take it. Okay, that's what it is. And again, be careful. Just put it in a safe place, and maybe at a locker, at a U-Haul type of place or storage place in your home. If you have a safe place, you can kind of hide it, and then you can put it, but don't put it in the safety deposit box because the bank will shut down. And you won't be able to do it. Now, what are the odds on the bank shutting down? I'd say about 80-90% because the dollar's worthless, and they're going to have trouble. The housing market's crashing, the auto market's crashing. Because why does it crash? Because you made the money worthless, and so you've raised the price, which you can't do, even though that's about what you should do. But in business, you got to be able to sell the product, and you can't sell cars for 50,000. People don't have it. They don't have 1,500 a month to pay for a car payment when they usually. I remember I got my Camry, and I think I had a $470 a month payment for 6 years that I paid off in 3. Because when I was working, I was able to pay like $700-800 a month towards the car, and it paid off the car. And so that's what you have, and that's the problem with it. You're doing that. You're charging too much because you think your costs went up, that you can sell more. So if the cars are 50,000 and you get a few buyers, but most of the world is looking for a $25,000, $30,000 Camry or something, right? You got your Mercedes buyers who won't care, but there's not a lot of Mercedes buyers. So your price on the cars are 50,000. You don't have anybody buying them. It's too expensive. So now they just sit on the lot and nobody's buying them because you're over market. The market for a car is about 25,000 and you're up here at 50. There's nobody home. You can't sell it. So here goes. All right. But what's happening? the banks are giving out loans to the people who want to buy it. So people buying used cars at $30,000 are um, taking out loans from the bank, but they can't afford it. And so as the dollar goes down and it takes more dollars to pay your mortgage and your food and your clothes and you're going on vacation, you can't afford it. You lose your job. You can't afford your car. They get defaulted. And then the car is worthless. The car isn't worthless, but you can't afford the mortgage, so you return the car. Say, I can't pay it. Well, the bank is sitting there on a bad loan because I loaned out $30,000 for this car and you can't pay me back. So what do? So I take the car back, but I'm a bank. I don't want a car because they can't sell them at Toyota and at Ford and GM. They can't sell the cars. What am I going to do? Maybe I sell it back to, if it's a Toyota, I sell it back to Toyota for pennies on the dollar. So all of a sudden the banks start collapsing because the money they think they're going to get in, they're not, because because of the recession we're in and the dollar having no value, people are just can't afford the cars and don't pay the banks back. And that's what happens. So with that said, the banks start going out. Well, what do? They close their branches. Well, wait, I got my safety deposit box in there with 50 ounces of gold. Well, sorry, we're closed. We're not allowing you to get your safety deposit box. So maybe if you smell what's cooking, you get the money out a little bit ahead. I'm just saying, don't even go there and put your money in the safety deposit box. Take it into a safe and take it out of the bank and find a safe place like a storage unit or someplace in your house where it's safe, and off you go. That would be the key to it. Again, the trick is people leave their money in the bank because they think it's safe, right? I don't want to walk around with $100,000. I might get mugged or something can happen, but if I have it in the safe and in the bank, I'm fine. So that's the mentality coming from the Great Depression in the 1930s. People trusted banks, but now the trust should be gone. The banks are all, run illegally, and there's a lot of problems with the bank. The next phase is the mafia runs the banks. The banks run the politicians. They give them the lobbyists money, mostly the defense contractors. Here's $1 million. Make sure you vote for me to build the tank. So when push comes to shove and these wars break out, what is Trump doing? Hey, Germany, you got to buy 5% of your GDP on our defense contractors. Buy tanks. And by the way, give them to the Ukraine. Who the hell is doing that? It's like us buying food, going to spend $200 at the grocery store and giving the food away. What are you kidding me? Nah, I'm not doing that. I need to eat, right? So I don't know how that's going to work. 5 countries already rejected it: France and Italy, Hungary, and Czech and Slovakia. They all said, shove it. And I don't think the other countries are going to do that. I heard Germany, and the one lady was really bitching at the other lady saying, what are you taking the taxpayers' dollars and paying and buying tanks and giving them to the Ukraine? Why are we giving it to the Ukraine? Why do we need to fight Russia? Why is that war going on? Because they want to sell the defense contractors weapons to the Ukraine or to Europe or NATO. That's what it's all about. It's a way of the US's fucked up mentality is that, if we have a war, then they'll have to buy our defense contractor weapons. And by the way, the defense contractor gave me $1 million, so I got to back him up. And therefore, they'll have to buy weapons to defend. Wait, it's only the Ukraine, and they have no money. we're giving Ukraine money. Now we're going to give them weapons instead of money. They can't win. So we don't, it's just about selling the weapons. It's just about other people selling weapons and giving them to the Ukraine, which is a phony story. Ukraine sells them to Mexico, the cartels, or Iran or Libya or whatever, whoever they're selling them to, because they know they can't beat the Russians, but the war is going on for financial reasons, and it's really screwed up. And that's why there's a war. There's no reason for the war. There's probably no reason ever for a war. Think about it. I'm going to have my guys and they're going to shoot your guys, and we're going to use tanks and planes. So we have to build all these things to go to war, and boats, and we're going to shoot you and you're going to shoot us. And the guys die for what reason? I don't know. Let's make one. Oh yeah, Russia. We don't want Ukraine to join NATO. What kind of reason is that to have a war? Or we want your mineral deposits in 4 or 5 key cities, and Russia took those cities and said, no, you can't have them. Why is that? Why are we going to war for that? Hitler was different. Hitler wanted to control the world. It was probably about something else other than what he said, but we were trying to stop Hitler, which we did, because we don't want him running the war. The guy's out of his mind. But what did Hitler do? He'd go into Czechoslovakia, he'd go right to the central bank and steal the gold and the silver, and if there was any diamonds or paintings. And they went into France, and they went into Luxembourg, and they went into Brussels, and any of these countries, Amsterdam and Norway and Holland, and they went in and went to the central bank and stole the money. That's what World War II is about. It wasn't about anything else but them stealing the money. They'll give you these titles. Well, the Jews did this, and but it was all about stealing the money and then hiding it. I was watching this thing on this gold train, and it's, I guess, hidden in Poland somewhere. And they took it and they hid it like 100 feet underground, and they're looking for it. People think they know where it is, but they can't get to it. I don't know. They probably blew it up, so you can't get to it. But it supposedly has a lot of gold and silver and diamonds and paintings on it. But that was World War II. So that made sense to fight. But the reason Hitler had an army was to go and steal the gold and the diamonds and the paintings from all these countries. So they'd go right to the central bank with an army. What were you going to do? You couldn't defend it. So that's what World War II is about. It's always about money. It's either oil or gold, is why every war has ever been since the history of time. Even the Romans probably did it for oil, or they did it like to go to Egypt. They wanted the wheat and the food, but a lot of other places it was about oil it's usually money or monetary means is why you go to war. And then now the Romans paid their soldiers an ounce of gold, and they go to war. But if you don't pay them, they're not going to war. Here they get dollars, but again, the dollars are worthless. So if I was in the army, I'd be asking for gold. That's how corrupt it is. They're killing their own people for monetary gains, and that's what's happening now. There's 1.5 million Ukrainians died, not a lot of Russians. Why? So they could get money from the arms deals. And so at first Biden was just giving Zelensky money, and he was taking 20% and doing whatever with the others, and Biden took a chunk, and Chuck Schumer took a chunk, and all these U.S. guys took their chunks, and then the other guys, and who knows if Putin took his chunk, and they all took a chunk of the money. But if he did actually get $200 billion, then explain why he has no weapons, right? Russia's got 25,000 tons of gold, so they don't have a problem with it. They're still selling their oil. So again, oil is a commodity. I believe the whole other purpose of the war is because BRICS is trying to do gold-backed currency. And we know how much the US hates that because they'll lose control because the dollar is not backed by anything. Gold always wins. Gold's going to win over the dollar 100% of the time. And that's the key to it. So as BRICS tries to come out with a gold-backed currency, the US creates a war to tell them so they'll stop. They did it with Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi. As I've said, they killed them both and stopped the gold-backed currency. Gaddafi had a lot of gold, and he had gold. He had currency in gold, and they tried. They blew him up. Hillary Clinton, you can't have a gold-backed currency. It'll make the dollar worthless. We'll lose control. So they killed him, but they can't do it to Putin. They can't do it to Xi, and they can't now. If there's what 40 members of BRICS, they can't do it to 40 members. There's officially 20. There's like 10 and 10 partners, so that's 20. But I know there's another 24 that want to join, and they're just waiting on that. And but they're all coming. They're all buying gold. And again, there's not a lot of gold. So this is the problem with it. This is the reason of the war is because of the gold-backed currency. That's like 1 and 1A. One is all the money laundering for the defense contractors, and 1B is because of they're coming out with the gold-backed currency. And that's why Trump says, "Oh, if you don't use the U.S. currency, you're going to tariff." Well, go ahead and tariff me. I don't use the dollar. I'm Russia. I can't use the dollar anyway. So how can you tariff me? China's the same way. Well, we don't sell to you now. We sell to Japan and Russia and India and Brazil and all the other BRICS countries because we make most of the stuff. The tariffs only hurt if China's selling to the U.S. The U.S. is the one adding the tariff tax onto it. Tariff is a tax. They're the only one. I heard Thomas Sowell. I think he's losing his mind or somebody's stealing his voice because I know he doesn't think like that. And I almost fell off my couch. Oh, tariffs aren't a tax. Yeah, okay, they're an extra cost. So call it what you will, but it adds 20% or 50% to the bill. It costs more to make it, right? It's to the producer. Then he comes and tries to sell it, here, and we're like, no, we're not gonna pay it. It's too expensive. So so it's like Nike, right? Adding 50% tariff to their shoe. So it makes the price go from $50 to $75. And now they're going to try to sell it here for $100. We're going, no, sorry. We're not going to pay $100 for it. You got tariff, that's your problem, but we're only going to pay what the market will bear. And that's where everybody gets it wrong. Oh, prices will go up. Prices won't go up. They can try to raise the price like steaks. You tried to raise the price of the steak to $20 a pound for the New York. Doesn't mean it'll take and you'll put it on sale. I did see my dark chocolate. I went to Walmart yesterday to get my dark chocolate, and it was kind of hidden from me. The sticker said 197, so I bought 4 bars. When I get to the checkout, it's coming up at 344. And the sticker, it was in the wrong place. And I went back to bitch and I saw it said 344. So the sticker did say 344, but where I was buying it, it said 197. So I probably wouldn't have bought 4 bars, but okay, I'm going to buy it anyway. But you'll see that go on sale because it's at the Myers or at the other stores, it's $4.75, and they put it on sale 2 for $8. This is, well, I paid 2 for $8 when I can get 2 for $5. But now if it's $3.44, that's not much of a savings. So I'm going to pay $7 versus $8. Then I might just buy it at Myers and not go to Walmart for it. But that's the thing. Just because the costs go up does not mean the price goes up. In theory, you need to charge more than your cost to be in business. Cost you 20, you got to sell it for 25. If you can only sell it for 15, you go out of business. But it depends what the market will bear. If the market will only give you, like for dark chocolate, the market says, hey, $3 is all I'm going to pay, and you want to sell for $3.44, you're not going to sell any, or you're going to sell 1 bar instead of 2 bars. So that's really the key to it, is understanding the market and what they'll pay for it. So you can charge what you want. I mean, I could charge $1,000 a week for Teaserking. I'm not going to get it. I keep it at $100, and you get all my picks. The locks are $75. I'm trying to reach a price point where I do get customers, versus I could charge what I could charge $10,000 a week. I'm not going to get it, but I could charge it. So that's how it kind of works. Is what will people pay for my picks? They're very good. I show the history on the site, so you can see what I picked. You can see my history. But how much is that worth to you? I know the odds on the teasers are getting a little higher. I think they're 12 to 10 now, but it's the best bet there is. If you're going to bet football, you got to bet the teasers, because the 6 points is huge. And since I've figured everything out and I'm getting the correct value, then it's a real good bet. Like Mahomes in week 1 against San Diego. Well, they're laying 2.5. Well, we get 3.5 in Mahomes. That's a great bet. Now we just got to make sure until week 1 that everybody's healthy and playing. There was a couple years ago, Kelsey didn't play and Neil Smith didn't play. Okay, and they lost to the Lions. That's what you got to see, is you got to wait till that way. And even then, Kelsey fucked us because he didn't announce it right away. It was like Friday, and he said, "I'm not playing." Oh, thanks a lot, Kelsey. You didn't know that. So if you know he's out, you might not play it. But that's what you're looking for. You're always looking for the value. What are things worth? Again, if there's no bids, there's no value. Even if it's a Mantle card, if nobody will buy it, it's worthless, even though it's a very good Mantle card. But having a strong demanded card like a Mantle card or Marino or Montana or Jerry Rice or Roberto Clemente, you're going to have demand because of who it is. And if it's limited and it's a PSA 10, you're going to have a lot of demand, and you'll have a big price. That's where I have that Iserman 1/1 card, and I really don't know what to sell it for. Now, I could get it graded and it should be a 10, but it doesn't matter. It's the only card that it's made. So really, the reason you get a 10 on a 68 Mantle card, the reason you get it graded is because there's very few 10s, there's very few 9s. But if it is a 10, since then it makes it limited, maybe there's 100 of them, the price goes up. But in a 1/1 card, there's only one card. So I'm not quite sure I need it graded, because if you want that card and you see a 1/1, you don't have an option. You can't, well, I'll wait for another one. No, there is no other one. There's one card. So I'm still debating about calling Iserman saying, hey, I got this card. It's a 1/1. Are you interested? Now, my friend said, well, he probably isn't interested. And I'm going, I'm not too sure. He obviously doesn't have the card. It means more to him because it's his card. Will he want it? And then what will he pay for it? Obviously, he cannot have it because they only made one and I have it. So just food for thought there. Anyway, so that's what we're always looking for in investments. What is risk? Risk is you've got your money in the stock market and the stock drops. Why does the stock drop? Because it's looking at future. How's Coca-Cola going to do in the future? Well, it's not going to, it's sugar and nobody wants it. So it's going to go down. Or how is Disney? Or how is Amazon? Or what's Apple? How are they going to do in the future? And with all these tariffs, they should all be going down, right? As the dollar's collapsing, people aren't going to buy a $1,600 phone. right? How are they going to buy a phone? They don't have the money to. So that's got to hurt Apple, a $1,600 phone. Well, let's include Apple TV. Who the fuck's going to pay for Apple TV? Why am I going to pay for these streaming services? I don't need them. I've got regular TV, and if it's not on that, then I'll watch it on YouTube. I'm just watching the Detroit Washington playoff game. It's on YouTube now. The whole game in an hour. No, it's commercials, but it's pretty much you get a big chunk of, it's not a commercial every 2 minutes. So you get a big chunk of the game in, and it's one play to the next to the next. So I don't need to watch it necessarily live. I know what happened. I can go on YouTube, watch the highlights in 20 minutes, get the gist of it. All right, Washington won, so I'm happy. So you kind of get the gist of it, but that's it. So, but again, you can watch the 72 Steelers Immaculate Reception game on YouTube. So why do I need Apple streaming services and Disney streaming services? And, I've got Pluto and I've got Tubi, which are free. And then I pay for Netflix, and I'm wondering why. I don't know why Netflix stock's so expensive. That's a bubble, and that's a Ponzi scheme, because it shouldn't. It's a very poor service. They give you 10 new movies, which you've already watched. How many times can I watch Batman? How many times can I watch The Godfather? Okay, seen it. It's not a movie you can watch 20 times. Most of the movies you watch the one time. Oh, okay, what's on this month? It's never anything really good or something new. If I want to watch, The Dirty Dozen, well, it's not on, and it's not in there. There is no library, so you can't watch it. So who the fuck cares? I mean, it's just stupid. It's basically what it is. So that's what you got to realize. So Netflix is way overvalued. So I wouldn't put you in Netflix. I wouldn't put you in streaming services, because they're a joke. Why would you want to be in that? Just go watch regular TV, or watch Tubi or Pluto, or watch YouTube. That's all free. You got some commercials in there. Okay. But what I like about Tubi, it says, one of 3 commercials. So you watch 1, 2, 3, you can go to the bathroom, you can put on some tea or coffee, you can heat up something, you got 3 commercials. YouTube, who the hell knows? You can't go to bed watching YouTube, because all of a sudden there'll be a 35-minute commercial on, and you got to hit skip, but you're trying to go to sleep. You don't want to move and hit slip. If you put on Netflix, there's no commercials. You just nod off and you just rewind it. I did that with Mission Impossible 5 last night. So I watched the first 10 minutes. I went to sleep. It woke me up after a half hour. So today I just rewound it back to where it is. So that's your risk and reward. Your risk is, will the stock could go down? Will the dollar go out? What will Bitcoin do? Is there a risk? It's at 110,000. Is there a risk? I saw it go down 3,000 the other day. Then it goes up 3,000. Why? Who's buying it? What is it? It's not even a real thing. So I have no interest in it. So when somebody says it went up to 120 or 110 or something, I don't care. I don't own it. I also don't own a Van Gogh over here. I don't own that either. And that's probably $1 million. I don't cry that I didn't buy it at whatever. I don't own it. So fine. Or a Rolex. Oh, the Rolex is $100,000. Oh, okay, fine. You can't worry about what you didn't do. And it's just, there's nothing you can do. Silver's at 38. It was 20. So you could have bought it at 20. But you don't say, wow, it's at 38 now. You buy, you buy what you bought. And if it goes up, great. And risk is it doesn't go up. The risk is comex is fake. So the comex is just money. It's price fixing at its best. It's all made off. So you're scratching your head going, why isn't silver going up? Why isn't gold going higher? But you realize it's price fixed versus, is the stock market price fixed? This, I think it is. Blue Star wants to buy, something, Michael Douglas. So I think that's price fixed. But you have to understand that going in. That's your risk. Are they going to knock the price down? Football, we know the risk. Team loses, you lose your bet. At the casino, we know all that risk. So the banks give you a lot more risk than you think. The stocks give you a lot of risk. So risk is about losing, right? You make a bet and you are betting on bonds, you're betting on stocks, you're betting on annuities, you're betting on putting your money in the bank. And the biggest problem with the bet is the inflation. So you got 200 grand at Chase Manhattan. You don't even understand your risk is they're printing this, making the value go from 200,000 to zero, or to, let's say, 1,000. So you don't even understand you're playing with fire and you have risk. By keeping your money in the bank, you think it's safe, but it isn't, because the money itself is being printed and it's worthless. It's a huge risk now to hold dollars, but you don't understand that. That's why you got to be careful in bonds, because they'll never pay you back. They owe $37 trillion. How are they going to pay the bonds back? They're not. The stocks, same thing. They're going to crash because the foreigners are going to pull their money out. They're going to realize the stocks are overvalued, that the tariffs are going to slow down the economy. So why would stocks go up? Stocks go up because of future earnings. Well, wait, if you're tariffing it and making things cost more, the earnings are going to go down because you're not going to pay that much. So sales will drop. So why is the stock market going up? That's huge risk. The only thing you don't have a risk on is gold and silver, because you can't print it or inflate it. So if I have an ounce of gold, I can't print it. Nobody can print it and say, oh, I have gold, and it's not real. They can do it now with paper, but they can't do it. And the Fed just can't come out and say, hey, the gold price is down. And they do all these derivatives to try to lower the price. But BRICS is sitting there going, thank you. And they're kind of letting it drop a little so they can buy it cheaper, if there's any gold to buy, which I'm not sure there is. So a lot of things are risk. A lot of them, sports betting and gambling at the casino, there's a lot. You understand the risk. I bet on Chicago, New York could win. I could lose. That's clear, right? Now, how legit are the games? I don't know. The All-Star game, I think, was fixed. I heard from my friend in Vegas. So the National League's up 6-0, and it goes tied 6-6. And then instead of playing the 10th inning, they go to this home run derby format like you would in soccer, where they do penalty kicks. So they did penalty home runs, and the National League won 7-6. So he said, my friend, I said, congratulations, you had the National League. He says, I didn't win, because it didn't go to a 10th inning. They went to a home run off. The stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why aren't they keep going? How did they blow a 6-0 lead? There must have been an awful lot bet on the National League. So what did they do? They tie the score at 6-6. Then they go to this home run off, which fucks everybody that bet the National League, because they can't cash. So it's a no bet. Well, why would they do that? Only if they were going to do it. So again, it's fixed. But would anybody think it's fixed? How do they give up 6 runs in 2 innings? They're up 6-0, and I believe they're going into the 7th. How did they give up 6? I know they gave up 4 runs in one and 2 in the other. How do they give those up? Who's managing? Who's pitching? You've got to be kidding. I mean, that's ridiculous. So you got to look, and that's when you think it's fixed, because of the payoff, right? A lot of people bet the National League. The National League wins, but it doesn't count unless you bet the hit. My friend said that's how it is in soccer. So if you bet Brazil over Germany and it's 0-0, and then they go to penalty kicks and Brazil wins 1-0, you don't cash if you had Brazil. You only cash if you said, I'll bet it on penalty kicks. What kind of crap is that? They won the game. I bet them to win. They won the game. So again, you're being fucked. So again, that's where you come off with the fix. So it was definitely a fixed game, because how could they blow a 6-0 lead. You have all-star pitchers, which should shut down all-star hitters. Uh, I'll have to kind of read the box score. We'll do that tomorrow when we look at baseball. But you got to be very careful in all sports betting. Basketball, a lot of these guys are betting prop bets on themselves. I'm not going to score a lot. I just won't take shots. So you're not getting a fair game in basketball, which makes it very tough to bet. Uh, Football, I think, is fixed to a point, but we pretty much get, when I bet the Lions over with Washington in the playoff game, it might have been fixed, but not the over. The over went like 80. So I won the over in the game. So I'm not sure that you fix the totals as much. You can. I've seen it where the over under is like 50, and then they do that lateral play, and the other team scores a touchdown to go over if there's a lot of under money bet. But not as close as it is, unless it was Super Bowl III when Earl Morrall threw 85 interceptions at the 10-yard line and lost to the Jets when they should have just ran it down their throat and won easily. Again, you question that. And the Jimmy Orr play where the guy's wide open, he's the main receiver. It's the normal play they run. You should have looked at Jimmy Orr, and he throws over the middle, and you're like, okay, how obvious are you making this fix? Oh, by the way, and the owner of Baltimore had $1 million bet on the Jets. So I guess we kind of know what happened. So Earl Morrall was paid off. The owner had bet it. Don Shula wasn't, because he was like, what's going on? But I think Morrall and another defensive player were fixed. Anyway, so you're always looking for risk and reward. You're always looking for value. What's the best value? And that's what you got to figure out, finding the value. We see what it is in sports. We value Mahomes. We value Burrow. We value Josh Allen. We're kind of curious about Lamar. I watched that Baltimore Buffalo game, and he checked out. Second half, they ran Henry because they were tired of Lamar throwing interceptions and fumbles. He had one pick, one fumble, and there was another fumble on the receiver. But then all of a sudden, they're handing the Henry, and Henry was moving. It's the same thing with Detroit. Get the ball out of Goff's hands. He threw 4 picks and a fumble in the playoff game with Washington. Just run the ball, because that's what Philadelphia did. They got the ball out of Hurts's hands because he's terrible, and they gave the ball to Barkley. And Barkley ran like for 200 yards and 5 touchdowns. That they went to the money, but Hurts is not the money. I love how the coach said Hurts is an elite quarterback. Yeah, maybe in high school. He's not an elite quarterback in the NFL. There's a lot of bad games he plays, and they need Barkley. And even with Barkley, it should open up the offense because it's balanced. You don't see Hurts do too much. A lot of turnovers. So that's what you're really looking for. You want free trade. You don't want tariffs. Tariffs raise cost, which makes things cost more, which either prices go up if they can, and if they can't, the company goes out of business. And a lot of Chinese companies have went out of business, or there's a lot of empty factories in China, a lot of people unemployed, and they all move to Vietnam to get less of a tax, or they just sell to other countries. We're the biggest consumers. We're not a producer. We don't make anything here. Just GM and Ford, I think. But Microsoft and Intel and all these chip companies, they're all in China. There's nothing made here, so we don't produce anything. We just consume. And at the end of the day, you're killing yourself. You're killing yourself by making the cost go up, which is going to make the price go up, or you're not going to buy it. You're going to buy something else from Vietnam or a different country where the tariff is normal. But you're pissing off China because they now sell to other countries and tell you to fuck off. So that's what's happening there. I think I had a couple of YouTubes. Gold 33.40, silver 38.03. Let's see. I was talking about the Nazi gold train. So the Nazis stole a bunch of gold and they parked the train at the end of the war in Poland, but they buried it underground and blew up the entrances. So people have been looking for this for a long time. They believe they found it, but I don't know. They laid about Hitler's death. Well, that we know. He did. He got to Argentina, and there was no body that they ever found. Here's Ion Rand. I'm going to do this. Coexistence with China. It's a real good thing for us.
Without too much problem. Do you think it's possible in the long run to coexist with a communist China? This seems to be the big fight of the Western world, is the containment of communist China. A free country can coexist with anyone and incidentally free the rest of the world. By example, if it is free itself and if it has a firm domestic and foreign policy. Remember that the United States destroyed tyranny, serfdom, and slavery all over the world, not by fighting wars, by example, by free trade. A free country destroys barriers gradually, but for that you need a proper political philosophy. And we had the beginnings of it in the 19th century, not the full case, and we lost the case. Because capitalism cannot coexist with the morality of altruism. If and when we return to a proper political system, it wouldn't be a return and going back, it's going forward because it has never yet fully existed. But it would have to be on the basis of an appropriate morality, a rational morality of self-interest. And in that case, you would not have to fight wars. I'll call this to your attention. The 19th century was the most peaceful period in history. The only period without a major world war between the end of the Napoleonic Wars and World War I. And that was the closest to capitalism that the civilized world had come. Contrary to all the popular nonsense, capitalism does not lead to wars. That is the peaceful system, and that has been demonstrated in historical practice. But today, with the kind of mixed economy and mixed philosophies that we stand for, we will ultimately probably have to fight. Unfortunately, if we had better ideas, a country like Russia or Yugoslavia or the whole damn world would not be any problem or any threat to the United States.
And that's what capitalism is. Capitalism is I sell you the mantle card, you buy it. We're both happy. It's all trade. There's no enemies. I have no enemies on Teaserking. If you want my picks, you buy my picks. It's open to anybody. I don't discriminate. I don't do anything. Oh, good. Glad to see you. Glad you bought from me. I hope you win. Questions, email me. How do I bet this game? My money management, my bankroll. And I teach them all that. So where am I going to have a war? I'm not, because you're my customer. So if Russia wants to be communist, that's up to them. Who cares? They'll go broke, which they did. And then in the late 80s, they went broke. And then that was the Soviet Union. Now we got Russia back. And Putin's a very capitalistic person. So is China. They want to do business. Putin wants to sell his oil and his diamonds and his gold and whatever else they make there. That's what they want to do. They do not want to fight. Fighting wars are expensive. This is what I don't understand about the U.S. now. This shows me they're panicking and they're on their last leg to have a war because it's very expensive. The weapons cost money. The soldiers cost money. You have to supply them. You have to feed them. You need gas for the trucks. You need to make tanks and planes, and you're going to shoot these Tomahawk missiles. You got to replace them. Wars are very expensive. People die. That's a very big expense. And then you got to have new people come up. Why are you killing your people? What is that? Well, I'm going to kill my people because I got to have $1 trillion worth of minerals or something. I mean, the whole thing is just bullshit. And these leaders they should go to jail for basically murder, right? You're sending people to, so this is what's weird is the U.S. is in a war with Russia, but we're not sending any people there. We're basically having the Ukrainians who have no people left. The Ukrainians are going into the streets and kidnapping 70-year-old men and 16-year-old boys because they don't have anybody left, and all their people that are in the army are running. They're all fleeing. They don't want to fight the Russians. Personally, they're friends with a lot of Russians, and Ukrainians are friends, and they don't want to. They're like, why am I fighting? Why am I risking my life? This is ridiculous. We don't have a chance, so let's end this stupid thing. And that's what's happening. But see, capitalism's peaceful. When I start talking to these guys at the gym who are communist or socialist, they think that's better. They don't have a fucking clue. Capitalism's the best because it's free trade. I want to make a sale with you. You want to make a sale with me. We're happy. Maybe you want to buy the mantle card. Maybe you want to sell the mantle card. But it's all free trade, and that's what it should be. And that's the key to it. Low taxes, and you got to have gold-backed currency, because I don't want your money because it's worthless. I want something else. Let's see. So Ayn Rand was a very good capitalist, Adam Smith type. But when people ask me, who did I learn it from? It's Adam Smith. Some guy asked me, did I learn it from Hayek? And I read a couple of pages in a Hayek book because I had to read it. But no, I learned it from Adam Smith. And people are they don't even know who Adam Smith is and anything. They don't understand he created capitalism by watching. He was looking at how people's behaviors were. So they'd go to the bakery store and they wouldn't buy because it was too expensive. And so you came out with another bakery and they would compete. And he said, that's the best thing. It's allow the competition, the key to it. Japan crushes U.S. banks.
Never pay for your internet again. Discover the free Wi-Fi router built with the same technology. The United States is the most indebted country, and right now it's desperately trying to pressure its allies to keep pumping money into the U.S. economy and help cover its massive debt. What's especially alarming is that America didn't even try to hide its disregard for the economic well-being of Canada, Europe, or Japan in the process. In this video, we'll focus on the growing tensions between the United States and Japan. The Trump administration is increasing pressure on Tokyo, demanding more and more. But this time, Japan is pushing back. Enough! The message from the White House sounds less like a request and more like a threat. Break your own economy, or we'll do it for you. And now, Japan is preparing a counterstrike, one that could disrupt global trade, shake up alliances, and even threaten the dominance of the US dollar. So let's break the numbers, the hidden maneuvers, and the real risks behind this clash. We begin with the ultimatum. The US is in a tough spot. Its trade balance is collapsing. The current account deficit has reached 3.8% of GDP, about $1 trillion per year, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. That means America constantly needs inflows of foreign currency to keep the dollar from crashing. But
does that sound like Madoff? He needed constant money coming in to pay out everybody else. Kind of sounds like Madoff, doesn't it?
Among foreign investors, including Japan, is vanishing. They're tired of bailing out the U.S. just to help the White House fund its bloated budget. Now, on the horizon is a 30-year bond sale worth $22 billion in 2025. The last auction raised red flags. The share of American buyers fell to 14%, down from an average of 17% over the past 6 months, according to the Wall Street Journal. Central bank